Tour guides of Reddit. What's the worst thing a tourist has ever done under your supervision? Former whitewater rafting guide. There's a calmer section of the river people can, if they choose to, hop out and swim through. They are wearing life jackets so you can just float through it. This woman decides she wants to try it and hops out. After she pops up, she slowly tilts forward until just the back of her jacket is out of the water and she's completely still. After 5 or so seconds of this, I start to realize this might not be intentional and paddle over and physically pick her head up above the water, followed by her gasping for air. I haul her in the boat and ask what happened. She said she didn't know what to do as she'd never been submerged in water before. 1. Why are you on a whitewater rafting trip? 2. Why didn't your strategy involve moving your body? I work at a brewery tap room and take people on brewery tours. During fermentation, CO2 is produced and excess comes out through a runoff pipe and into a water bucket. One of the attendees, who was being a pain and trying to be funny but nobody was laughing, asked me what the pipe was for. So I gladly explained. He then asked what would happen if he breathed it in. In disbelief of his stupidity, I told him he would pass out, damage his brain. He then proceeded to grab the pipe and take a breath. He was then ejected and barred. Some people are just beyond belief. Tour guide at a university. Small group gets into our gardens where there's a big turtle pond. Girl gets excited and wants a close-up of the largest snapping turtle. Girl loses her phone to the turtle and tries to get the university to buy her a new one. Girl was lucky she still has all her fingers. Saw a kid knock over a set of replica Civil War rifles that were on display. And then his mom got mad at the tour guide for yelling at him. The kid and his mom were kicked off the Civil War tour. There is a reason why they hide the accurate actual artifacts relics evidence. Most of the actual artifacts were kept behind glass, but the rifle replicas were only behind a piece of rope. The kid was definitely old enough to read the signs warning people to not touch stuff and to stay within the tour zone. Couple of guys I used to play cricket with went on a school trip to Auschwitz and decided to steal a small pair of glasses and some buttons they found half buried in the ground. They were detained by Polish police while they were leaving the site. Hard to know what goes through people's heads sometimes. On the subject of Auschwitz, I work with a dude whose go-to badass story is that he snorted coke while walking around Auschwitz. I've probably heard him tell 25 people or so the same story, and every person kind of looks at him like he's a ducking piece of shit and then they try and change the subject. To this day I don't think he understands why no one sees it as badass. My cousin is a tourist guide and biologist. Most of his tours are in Africa. He instructed his group of 20-25 people, including kids, not to wear any type of earrings or collars, especially shiny stuff, since they were about to go into a thick forest to try to see a bunch of animals. This is very important because 20-25 make a lot of noise, which makes wild animals run away or hide. It's even worse if they're wearing shiny stuff they can spot from far away. Okay, so this woman complains. Decides to wear shiny earrings anyway. Cousin tells her to get rid of them or she ain't coming with the group, so she obeys but puts them on a bit later. Some species of monkeys in that area love shiny stuff. They rip the earrings from her ears. Edit. Okay, I wasn't ready for the inbox nukes. Yes, my username makes everyone cringe. Shaving your teeth is a truly enlightening experience. Make sure to sleep properly so you don't wake up too tired and end up picking your razor instead of your toothbrush when you shave your teeth. D. I was working on a tourist island in Australia when this man pulled out almost all the back feathers of a peacock because he wanted to keep one. He sneaked up behind it and grabbed a huge handful and yanked them all out. He was immediately escorted off the island. The peacock had a huge bare patch and most of its beautiful feathers were gone. I watched a man run up the side of the platform the winged victory statue is on in the Louvre and throw his arm around it for a photo. Security got him down pretty quickly. I'm shocked he actually made it up there. Friend of mine does tours of whiskey museums in Dublin. Someone took a sheet in one of the exhibition rooms. I had a guest snorkeling try and grab the tail of a barracuda as he swam up behind it. Luckily I was able to hit the guest with a dive fin from the boat to stop him before he got a hold. If he had grabbed on, I'm sure he would have been ripped to pieces by that fish. Technically not a tourist guide, but I was doing a tour of our production facility to some people from head office. As we got to one of the pallet outfeeds, I mentioned the light curtain, which was a safety feature that stopped the conveyors once the light was broken. And so for some damn reason one of the ladies decides to stick her hand through the light to test it, stopping the production line and also risking her safety by doing it in the first place. I asked her not to do that again and went about resetting the machine to start up again. No more than 3 seconds after doing so, she stuck her hand through the curtain again, stopping everything. She looked at me with the most stupid expression on her face as I basically said, "What the duck?" To this day I don't know why she did it or what her deal was. I was giving a tour of my university to the mother of a potential student. She tried to recruit me into a popular pyramid scheme, and then, when I tried to change the subject by asking what she did in her spare time, she told me about her conspiracy theories that she gives public talks on. They included the dangers of Wi-Fi, 5G, and chemtrails, and that the moon landings were faked by Stanley Kubrick, who was shortly thereafter assassinated by the CIA and replaced by a clone. I cut the tour short. Felt pretty sorry for her daughter, who appeared to think these theories were reasonable and had also been recruited into her mother's pyramid scheme at 17. I work in a castle with some incredible old and delicate books and furniture. This itch of a tourist let her bratty kids run everywhere and grab and pull at everything. I had to get a child out from under one of the beds and she just didn't give a shit. Edit. Holy shit. I didn't expect so many upvotes. Cheers guys. I used to work at a heritage site. It was an old military installation with a lot of remaining original structures, bunk beds, cafeteria equipment, computers, etc. Every day it was a constant effort to remind people, read, kids, not to jump on the beds, not to slam doors open, not to punch every button like it owes them money. The absolute worst was a group of kids on a school trip. Within the first 10 minutes we're walking through the tech portion of the exhibit, where we had a wall lined with Burroughs large systems machines, B5000s, all behind this little fence about waist high. I turned to demonstrate some of the pieces, and when I look back at the group, one of them had jumped over the barrier, opened one of the units and started pulling out handfuls of digital tape from the reels inside. I just about jumped on the kid when their teacher did just that. She jumped the barrier, smacked the kid's hands and took him outside. I immediately ended the tour and had them all refunded, as I couldn't imagine what else could happen. Took a class of middle schoolers to a museum and one of my asshole students dragged his hand across a 3,000-year-old Indian painting. Later on I found out the object was almost certainly a reproduction, but I nearly died of rage on the spot. Edit. The student was with us on a 45-day placement for severe behavioral issues. He earned enough point in school to qualify for the field trip. Never again. I used to give walking tours of Old Vegas back in the day. During one ill-fated March afternoon I had a group consisting of a mother and son, a British couple, a pair from Indiana, and a middle-aged man from China. Long story short, the Chinese man dropped his trousers and took a sheet right on the sidewalk in front of the Golden Nugget without saying a word and carrying on as if nothing had happened. Was on a tour of a small cave system somewhere in West Texas. It was really beautiful, and right after the guide told us how long it took for all the stalagmites and stalactites to form, she turned around to move on and some guy leans way over and snaps off a small one and shoved it in his pocket. I was so surprised I just stared at him and he smiled and winked at me like we had really gotten away with something and I was a co-conspirator or something. On an open-top tour bus in London, woman tries to dangle her toddler over the railing, then starts saying she's going to complain to my manager when I told her to stop. Caught her doing it again and company policy said that anyone endangering their kids like that was to be removed from the tour. So the driver had to come up and march her off. She still insisted she did nothing wrong. Like, she literally had the kid's feet on the side rail of the moving bus and was just holding him loosely round the waist. One low-hanging tree branch, of which there were many on the route, and that kid was gone. Was at a reptile show and they let out some mini crocodile iguana type thing. I think it was called a dragon something. Anyway, some kid decides to take his shoe off and wiggle his toes through the small rope gate we were against. Presenter says, "Watch your kid. These will bite." Kid removes his foot and immediately puts it back in when presenter turns around. Wiggles his toes again. And this dragon thing surges forward and clamps down. Kid starts screaming. Presenter just looks on like, "Well, I told you so," and removes it. Kid stops screaming. No one says anything. And presenter moves on. That's what you get for ignoring instructions. And also for not parenting properly. Edit. Okay guys, I really doubt it was a Komodo dragon since the presenter really wasn't worried about it. Please stop commenting saying the kid is dead or something. As others have pointed out, it was probably a monitor. A Chinese water dragon. Or a bearded dragon. It was big enough so a monitor sounds correct. I don't need anyone else commenting about whether it was a Komodo dragon and whether the kid got help or not. His sock almost came off and he got a fright. That's all. Kid was fine. Guy peed on the side of an Omaha Beach bunker. Not out of spite or something. He just didn't want to walk back to the porta potty. Started pissing on a piece of history. Obviously not the worst thing that'll be in this thread. But certainly made the rest of our group turn to him and ask what in the absolute duck he was doing. Not a tour guide, but I guess you could say I work in the tourism industry. I work ground crew for a company that does helicopter tours. Number one rule for customers is don't walk under the tail boom. The rotor will heal you and it will hurt. It's unbelievable how many people have a death wish out there. People see the fastest way to the other side of the helicopter and don't stop to think, oh hey, that spinning blade may or may not slice my whole ducking head off. Let's see how close we can get to it. Tour guide boat captain in the Caribbean. We had about 40-50 people on the boat. Got off. We would normally go feed swimming pigs, which someone would get nipped from them from doing stupid shit, but nothing too serious. Well, the next stop after that was another island where we would hand feed turtle, sharks, and stingrays. So we would tell the people to hold it with the palm open and food in the middle for the stingrays, and they would come over the top and take it out. The turtles and the sharks put it in the water holding it in the tips, and when they are coming for it, let go. Well, of course. This dingus decided he would be tough and feed this baby shark. No longer than your forearm without letting go. Shark proceeds to bite his fingers. He screams and jumps up out of the water and flicks it off of his hand, pulling one of his fingernails off in the process. So that's one I always remember. They took a big sheet in front of the group. So we tour through the streets and parks and make it really clear that the toilets at the beginning of the tour are the only ones for the first 90 minutes of tour. We get to the park about 30 minutes into the tour. Not a big park, mind you. It is basically a big roundabout with a swing set, bench and 2 trees. I'm in the middle of my spiel in the park when I see a guy at the back of the group. Step away. Pull his pants down and squat on the grass. Of course I was stunned and lost my flow, which had everyone looking around, only to recoil in horror as this guy drops a log like it was nothing. He wasn't even ashamed. Used to be a tour guide at a primate sanctuary with a strict no touching policy. At the end of the tour there's a suspension bridge. Tourists go first. Guide goes last as per the rules. I always warn the tourists that the other side is the territory of a Hanuman Langur and he doesn't duck around. Keep your distance etc. He doesn't attack people out of nowhere. But he likes showing his teeth and screaming, which scares tourists. Anyway, one tour I get to the other side of the bridge, and a tourist got bitten. He says a monkey just bit him out of nowhere. Ask the other tourists. No, he tried to ducking pet the Hanuman. Dumbus got what he deserved. Not me. My best friend's tour guide on an island off the Australian coast, he saw one of the tour ignore the huge signs warning people not to go to the edge of the water. Predictably the tourist gets hit by a huge wave. Swept out to sea. I know it was the worst thing the tour guide ever saw because he and my best friend both went into the sea to rescue the tourist. And they both died. Funniest guy I ever met. Miss him most days. The tourist who caused it all? Predictably he survived. Pretty sure he doesn't feel too good about the whole thing. Didn't happen to me. But one of my company's tour guides was on a flight with a bunch of middle schoolers. One of the boys got caught jerking it in his seat next to a girl who wasn't even from his school. I used to give tours at my university. There was a group of middle schoolers I was giving a tour to show them why they should want to go college. Yatta yatta. There was this one kid who kept trying to sneak away and was whistling at just about every girl who walked by. Weird. Okay. Whatever. He thinks he's a big shot. Then a very attractive girl comes jogging by us. And he tried to grab her and starts air humping while he watches her run away from us. I was mortified. I ended the tour. I was done with him. The teachers didn't even care. That was probably the worst part. Tour guide at my university. I led a tour with a very overbearing father and his quiet daughter, among 4 other people. As I led the tour, I tried my best to gear the information toward the students' interests and chosen programs to make sure they got the most information. In the middle of my tour, I referred to the daughter's program and the dad just blew up, yelling at me that his daughter is underage and it's unprofessional that I hit on her on the tour. He asked to speak to my supervisor, who helped me explain to him that I'm gay and I had had a boyfriend for almost a year at that point. Was on a tour in New Orleans. Guy gets drunk and basically makes a fool of himself and slaps his partner. Everyone else on the tour is like, whoa, not cool. Take a hike. GF leaves with him. Next morning we're all on the bus waiting to roll out to the next destination and we're not moving. 30 minutes later we're all getting pissed off. Then the couple get on the bus looking sheepish. By the next stop we learn the drunk guy ran a bath at the hotel, passed out and it flooded the bathroom, and 4 floors below into the hotel lobby. The hotel wouldn't let them leave without paying thousands of dollars. Karma for him.